Fellow nerds, we are talking X-Men 97, the 2 episode premiere with To Me, My X-Men, and Mutant Liberation Begins.
One of those things.
I don't know what you guys thought, but I really enjoyed these first 2 episodes. I don't
Did
know
you
what
think
I
it
was.
was weird when Magneto was the one saying to me, my X-Men? That was a little bit weird.
To me, it seemed like he
Perfection.
was trying to poke the X-Men a little bit.
Oh, a little
Like,
bit. I mean, come on. Of course.
and yes, Attack on Show, Cyclops done right. Cyclops gets so much crap in the comics. He's been written so well at times, but so poorly at other times. And it's great seeing him, in this show just being Cyclops. And anyone who's really read a lot of the comics loves Cyclops, probably more than Wolverine in some cases. Now, Wolverine's a very popular character, but he's the leader. He's like the Captain America of the X-Men, basically. And it was good seeing that and seeing, oh man, when he was like shooting his optic beams down to slow him down so he could do the superhero landing.
Everybody online was talking
I
about
was
that.
like, yes. Yeah, the person doing the voice for Gambit didn't come back for 97, and it's noticeable. And that's probably
Yeah.
why Rogue was in the headmaster's office with Magneto.
So creepy.
And for those of you, we're already jumping to the second episode. I
Yeah.
saw people online like, why can she touch Magneto? It was actually, I believe it was the Age of Apocalypse comic, where Magneto could use his power to make it simulate touching, but they're not actually touching, and that's why she does not actually absorb his powers or anything else. He actually protects himself from Rogue by doing it. And then obviously, if they're getting
Well, like increasing his magnetic field or something.
it's not necessarily increasing it. It's like almost putting it around him really close so it feels like touching, especially to her. But it's
Huh.
not actually touching the skin, so it doesn't absorb the power.
See, one thing that I've always appreciated about this series in particular, I'm sure they do it plenty in the comics. I didn't read a lot of the X-Men comics growing up. I mostly was acquainted to them from the various animated series. I didn't really start reading any kind of X-Men related material until the Ultimate series, and they weren't that great in the Ultimate comics.
Really?
They're kind of like they were okay, but it was more to me. I feel like the Ultimate X-Men were more yeah,
These are my old
they're
X-Men.
fine. They're fine, but it seemed like they were more into like the romance subplots. But one thing that I appreciated about these animated series is the different ways that they used their powers. It wasn't always for like fighting related reasons. I always like how they give them, new interesting uses for them.
Like Cyclops
So the fact
moving
that,
with it.
yeah, what's that?
Cyclops moving around with his eye beams.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool.
yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Do you? I gotta give major props to the animation team behind this for making sure that they make Magneto just as corny as he always was. Any point in time that he gets the chance to just displaying giant M's everywhere to remind everyone what his name is.
Well, and that was the uniform he had in this episode, or the second episode, I should say, is one he wore in the comics for the trial of
Yeah.
Magneto. And I thought that was pretty cool. And just so you know, I think if you're going to read the X-Men, you have to start with the Claremont era. Starting with like
Okay.
X-Men 94, where the new X-Men took over, and then him and Burns' run on it was just tremendous. And just Claremont's entire run just has everything we've ever known about the X-Men. It had the Dark Phoenix saga, it had Days of Future Past, it had Alpha Flight come in, the Savage Land with
Apocalypse?
Sauron. What?
Did it have Apocalypse?
Yeah,
Did
Apocalypse was
Apocalypse
brought
too?
in
Huh.
by Chris Claremont. So was Mr. Sinister, who we know is going to. Well, we definitely know Mr. Sinister is probably showing up soon, since
Hmm.
we had that at the end of the second episode. For those of you who don't know who that could possibly be, it's Madeline Pryor, who was a clone of Jean Grey. Or it was Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor was with Cyclops, or one of those.
It's very unclear.
If I remember correctly, Nathan Summers was the son of Madeline Pryor and Scott Summers, not Jean Grey.
Whoops.
So I do think, based on that, I do think that the Marvel girl that was hanging out with them all those years was Madeline Pryor and not Jean Grey. So it'll be interesting, one, to see where the heck Jean has been all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And probably was Madeline when she came back after the Phoenix Saga in the original series. And then, obviously, Mr. Sinister probably has his hand in cloning Jean Grey, because who else could it be?
Palpatine.
You're right. This was his...
You know, cloning is ancient magic only the Sith knew.
Did you think that it was a little endearing that no matter what their differences, Magneto was going to honor Xavier's wish?
Yeah. But I feel like that's within his character.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I like Magneto, but he's a bad guy, but I still like him because his relationship with Xavier, it supersedes, like, in times like this. He will still do what his friend Charles would do. And that's cool. He's got a heart.
He's the type of Marvel bad guy that I appreciate the most. The one where you start to wonder, like, it kind of blurs the lines of, like, I get where he's coming from. He's doing it the wrong way, but, like, is he really the bad guy?
Yeah. And it's not even like a Loki type of bad guy where he's just serving himself. He still thinks he's doing not just what's good for him, but what's good for everyone. He still thinks that.
Yeah.
And well, and at least so far in this show, he hasn't intentionally hurt any of the X-Men. What happened to Storm at the end?
She dove in front of him. That wasn't his doing.
Yeah.
Wasn't his fault.
That we know of.
Right.
I hope we don't find out that he, like, kind of moved his magna powers and, like, grabbed her by one of her belt buckles or something.
No, she jumped in front. That was her doing. He did not. I don't think at this point he would have done that. And she did it, and man,
I don't think so either. That doesn't seem within his character. He was so proud of being a mutant, and, like, his entire mission has been about the acceptance of mutants, or that mutants are better than humanity. They're the next step in evolution and everything. So, like, to boost his mission, I don't think he would ever put someone in danger of losing their powers.
He wouldn't put a mutant in any harm's way.
Well, he did kind of wrap up a Wolverine in Days of Future Past and throw him in the bottom of the lake.
Well, because he was fighting against him, though. At that point, Storm was with him. I should clarify that. Yeah, any mutants who are siding with him
on his side, yeah. Well, even that, I don't know, because he did sick the Brotherhood against the X-Men pretty often.
Well, yeah, because they were against him. They were, he wanted.
No, I mean the Brotherhood were clearly the ones in danger. They sucked.
Oh, okay, good point. Yeah. No, you guys can take them. They don't train that much.
I'm sorry, Magneto. My name is Toad. I told you that, right? Like, I've got, like, frog powers. It's kind of. I don't think I should be fighting laser beam eyes, man.
I mean, I could be in a Monty Python sketch. I could say, and now from over here, I'm going over there.
We did.
And that dude with the claws said he's a World War II veteran. I do not feel comfortable with this.
I don't want to. He's collecting Social Security at this point. I'm not going to fight him. But we did see too. One of the things I liked in this episode, that mutant who was caught by the Friends of Humanity. In that first episode, Robert DaCosta is Sunspot from the comics.
Okay.
And we got Cannonball, I think, in the last season of the animated series before. So we're starting to get introduced to some of the new mutants.
Nice.
And I wonder if we're going to see, because in the comics, by the time Magneto takes over for Xavier, because he did take over the X-Men were kind of their own thing. They're like, we don't need you leading us. We're the X-Men. You know, we got Cyclops, we got Storm, we got leaders. We don't need you. But he took over the training of the New Mutants. And so I wonder if we're going to see, you know, we've seen Magic, who Lillian Rasputin, who is Colossus's little sister. We saw her grow up in Limbo already in the animated series. We saw Cannonball, and now we've seen Sunspot. So, you know, see a few more, and we may get a spin-off New Mutants, you know, animated series possibly coming with Magneto leading them, because the X-Men aren't going to need it. I just thought that was a very calculated choice on who was caught by the Friends of Humanity at the beginning of that episode. You know, they didn't pick some random mutant just for fun. They picked one of the founding members of the New Mutants, and I think that's very important.
And that would be
I've got
much better than the movie.
What? There was a movie?
Oh, that's right. It didn't happen.
I've got a question for you too.
Okay.
Now that you know, the two primary people that were behind you know, building and releasing the Sentinels, now that they've been taken care of, do you think we're going to see the X-Men throughout this series fighting any more anti-mutant robots, I'll call them?
Sentinels? Probably at some point.
Or variations of them.
I think
Or
we'll
parts
get...
of them.
Oh, it's not Master Mold. Who is the ultimate... Oh my god, I can't believe I can't remember the name of it. He's like the ultimate Sentinel that comes from the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to look it up. But Attack on Show did look it up, and he said, so Chris Potter was the voice for Gambit in the original series. He's now going to voice Cable. Not sure why they didn't have him continue as Gambit. Yeah, I agree. I knew it was a different voice for Gambit, but I didn't know the original was still on the show.
Maybe he didn't feel like he could still pull it off. I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe his voice couldn't take it.
How many episodes is this show going to have again?
10.
10.
Now I wonder
And
if
they-
it's if they're already considering, you know, more seasons or what.
They've already got renewed for 2,
Oh,
and they're talking 3.
now there is a rumor, not substantiated, floating around that has been floating around since before these episodes dropped, and that's that we may potentially see crossover in X-Men 97. Don't know if it's going to be this season, but we may see crossover in X-Men 97 with some of the other Marvel and the versions of the Marvel animated characters from the 90s. Like we may see the 90s version of Iron Man or Hulk or any of the other characters that they interacted with, because that was definitely a multiverse back then of animated series. We talked about before during the trailer how often they interacted with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say Spider-Man a second ago.
But I don't know if they can do that. I'm not sure if that's... I know they can do... I know that they're allowed to do, you know, Spider-Man animated series, but I don't know if they would, because I think Disney would be afraid of people getting confused by multiple iterations of an animated Spider-Man. Since they've got... what is that? Spider-Man First Class?
No, it's called the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Freshman year?
It's Friendly Neighborhood
Oh, they
Spider-Man
changed it.
now.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Okay. Well, either way, they've got another animated series coming out. I don't know that they would want to have, you know, even if it's a cameo. I just don't see Disney doing that.
I hope they do, though. I think you're right, Doug. Don't get me
I
wrong.
hope they do, but...
We can have 2 Batmans. We can have, you know, 2 Batmans in the DCU, basically. You know, one for Batman the Brave and the Bold, and then, you know, Robert Pattinson's Batman. So I think people can handle it, but you're right. I don't think Disney would pull the trigger on that. I think they're going to stick with mutants and probably mutants only. We may get hints of other heroes. Like we did see the Spider-Man and the Venom thing in the newspaper that flew by, but I don't think they'll capitalize on it, but they should. And by the way, the Sentinel from the future, like the ultimate Sentinel, is called Nimrod.
Nimrod?
Yes.
Okay. Sure.
Which is the name of a god, but very poorly chosen.
Yeah.
Oh, strike fear into the hearts of Nimrod.
Right.
And yes,
And
just so
hey,
you know,
guys, Nimrod's coming.
Attack on Show said apparently they don't need Sony's permission, and that's true.
No,
'cause
for the
Sony
animated
has-
Spider-Man, no.
Sony has the movie rights to Spider-Man, basically.
Mhm.
The live action?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, well, I guess they make their own movies too.
Yeah, they can do
I mean,
animated
they're all-
movies too, because
which are great, by the way. That's the only thing Sony's done right with Spider-Man is their animated movies.
I feel since that had since that had such involvement of the animation studio that made it, I don't like to give Sony too much credit. I think they accidented their way into that. They're probably just like, yeah, more Spider-Man stuff, approve it. You guys do whatever you want. We don't care. And then when it turned out to be successful, they're like, oh my gosh, we've got to
Do
keep
more.
making more of these.
I told you we were the best.
We're going to make so many Sinister Six movies now. We can afford them.
That just funded our next 10 movies.
Yeah, so blame Into the Spider-Verse for Craven.
Oh boy.
I don't want to do that
Or
to the
even
Spider-Verse. I know it's their fault, but all they did was make a good movie.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But they even, one of the things I think why I enjoyed this first episode so much is they did kind of tie in a little bit from what happened at the end of the first season. They had to hunt down Trask, and they went into talk to Henry Peter Gyrich, who was still anti-mutant. We saw the Friends of Humanity using the Sentinel tech, and then we got that just sweet battle at the end of that first episode when they were just destroying the Sentinels. We saw, it was funny because as I was watching Storm just utterly decimate a bunch of Sentinels, I'm like, man, she's an Omega level mutant, but I'm like, she is so OP right now. I wonder how they're going to handle that. Should have kept my dang thoughts to myself. Dang you.
You found out. And now she ain't
Gotcha,
got no
Keith.
power.
I knew it. I shouldn't have done it. But I was so mad at myself. But it was just great.
I truly do not understand why she immediately packed up and left the mansion. You would think in a time like that where she was going through such a change, she would want to be around friends that would at least be able to help and understand her.
Yeah, you would think that, but everyone deals with things differently too. Especially with the talk that she had with Jean or Madeline, Jean.
Don't know.
Yeah, when she was talking about, wonderful to be a human, or not worry about some of this stuff, and maybe she's gonna go try to figure all that out, and hopefully she gets her powers back because, she's lost her powers in the comics before, like every superhero, and eventually she gets it back. So I hope it's just something that takes some time, and then she comes back. She'll come back at the end of the season and just, be shooting lightning everywhere and just doing her thing. But we did see, that was great. They talk so much about how they work in the Danger Room. We even saw, Sunspot in it with thinking Wolverine was part of the simulation. But it's nice to see them. They train so much to see them work together so well. Because it wouldn't make sense otherwise. It'd be, when you see these basketball teams, when we had the best week of practice we've ever had, and it looks like they've never played the game together before. And it would be weird if they didn't look like they knew how to fight together. And they are definitely, one mind out there and just getting things done, which is going to be thrown off now with Storm leaving the team. And now we have, they're going to find out that, hey, Jean was cloned at some point, and the clone was probably living with us for the past couple of years.
They're going to have to learn how to fight with Magneto.
Yep, they have to learn to fight with Magneto.
It'll balance out their game, man. It's like the light and dark. Talk to Thanos about balance.
Dang, Magneto, man. Charles wouldn't have crippled those dudes. You're right.
They're going to have to end all of their fights early. That way Magneto can, make it to the local restaurant, the Denny's, for, his 4 p.m. dinner.
Hey, what is wrong with having a good meal before sundown? Huh?
Doug, it's called supper. How dare you?
I mean, I think Deadpool's the one that said that. It's what is something wrong with saving money and having a good meal before sundown? Is there something wrong with that?
But I do think we may not see him this season. With it only being 10 episodes, I don't know if we'll see Nimrod coming soon, but we know Cable's showing up. So we could see, oh, you laugh now. Wait till you see him decimate the X-Men. They're Douglas. Okay. We don't make fun of Nimrod in this podcast. But, you know, he may come back in time with Cable, or Cable may come back. Because it's funny, for a lot of runs on the X-Men, they'll be like, you know, we see in the future, and if we keep down this course, Nimrod's going to wipe us out. So they start making changes. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets brought up, because it does look like, you know, with them taking care of Master Mold and, you know, Trask's Master Mold in the Sierra, that the Sentinels should be done. But you think that all the time in the comics too, and then someone, you know, builds a new, faster, smarter, better Sentinel.
Tag on Show says Apocalypse is still out there. He's always out there.
Apocalypse is still out there. Mr. Sinister is out there, and we've heard, if you've watched our rumor mill rundown, you know that he is being eyed to possibly be the villain for the first X-Men movie in the MCU. He's been in the animated series, and we got a clone at the end of that second episode, so it's very likely Mr. Sinister is definitely showing up in this season. And it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because he has a complete, just, I don't want to say fetish, but might be the right word. He's obsessed with the obsession. He's obsessed with Scott Summers and the Summers bloodline. So now we've got a little kid who could be based on a clone of his. Because if he made Madeline Pryor, then little Nathan is basically half his from his clone. Yeah. Is that how that works? If you clone somebody, let me do the math. Hold on. But I think now that the baby is born, Mr. Sinister is going to take an interest in him. And for those of you, playing the home game, Nathan Summers is Cable. If you might remember him from the Deadpool movie, played by Thanos.
As pointed out.
Yes. Now, Thanos. He's him from the future, though. He's not like a little superhero as a baby.
Right. You gotta stay with the comics, man. He comes back from the future.
And yes, thank you. Thank you, Attack on Show. The cool Apocalypse, not the Ivan Ooze one. Yes.
Is anybody gonna know what like Ivan Ooze is anymore?
Yeah, there was a new Power Rangers movie. God, that was so. I feel so bad for Oscar Isaac. When he signed on to do that movie, I don't think he thought he was going to look that terrible.
I doubt it.
Yeah, and he was kind of one of those background villains in that movie, I thought. Like, we see a couple of his movements, but the main story is on something else.
Yeah.
Until the climax. Climax. But yeah. What were you gonna say, Deb?
I just imagine him sitting in the makeup chair. So I'm gonna look cool, right? Yeah, buddy. You sure are.
Yeah, we'll put this hat on you.
Is the hat intimidating? Sure.
Yeah, sure. Probably. to someone, I'm sure.
Someone's gonna be intimidated by this hat.
And in the second episode, we get the trial of Magneto. He surrenders himself. Well, at the end of the first episode, after he almost destroyed all of the helicopters, he goes willingly. He's put on trial in front of all those people. We see all of the January 6th rioters. I'm sorry, the Friends of Humanity rioters out there. And it was.
No, go ahead.
Seeing
I don't want to get political.
Executioner was a very pleasant surprise. I did not think we were going to. That was the guy the Creed guy from Friends of Humanity who wore that outfit, who ended up beating up. that is a very kind of cool character from the comics who to fight, basically to fight mutants, he kind of donned that armor, got it all built, powered himself up so he could do it. And it was nice seeing him because obviously the X-Men need, power threats. A bunch of humans with picket signs aren't really going to be a challenge to them. So basically surprising them with this armor and his powers and stuff. It was a nice touch. I was glad they did that. They always seem to make the right decisions on the show on who should be included and how they should handle it. We haven't had too much of a issue with, one episode, Cyclops
Gilbert Godfrey.
One episode you see where he's just destroying everything, and then the next episode he gets beaten up by a baby. They haven't had these power fluctuation issues in this show. So it's nice to see. Thank you, NYSQ, for redeeming a Gilbert Godfrey, because I have so much to say. It's so nice to see a well-written, well-animated show. Because if you remember the last season of the animated series, it looked like I was drawing it with my left hand. It was so bad. Thank God they finally got AI or something to do it better than that last season. And we do see that a lot of the mutants are being granted to Genosha. For those of you that don't know, at one point, millions of mutants are killed on Genosha. So every time they say, hey, guess what? Go to the wonderful mutant island of Genosha. All I can think of, don't do it. Hide with the Morlocks. Do anything but go to Genosha. Come on, I've seen the future. It's not so bright.
We all know Genosha is short for genocide, right?
They're going to find out soon, unfortunately, Dave. They should have really talked to you before they booked their one-way trip there.
They could have gave me a call. I got information. I'm like Fennec Shand over here.
You could sell it to the highest bidder, Dave. You would be rich at this point. You would have saved all those mutants' lives. The Friends of Humanity would want to talk to you, though. They're like, who is this guy helping the mutants out? How dare he? We were getting them all gathered on one little island, and he had to go spill the beans. What is wrong with him? He must be a self-hating human.
I believe in evolution.
And of course, right as Cyclops is getting his butt handed to him by the executioner, Madeline Pryor Jean Grey is going into labor. And I saw a lot of people complaining that Rogue could take over, touch a surgeon and do it for him. Come on, she's been a mutant for how many years? You don't think she's been training in the danger room? She could have done so much more. She could have maybe done some plastic surgery. You know what, Jean? Let's do something else. Let's give you a little, I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, so I'm not even going to say. She's perfect. I was just kidding.
Well, I liked how the rest of the hospital staff just jumped to it when she started giving them orders. All right, we need this, and we need this stat. And they were like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's what they said. And of course, she did name the baby Nathan. So we know it's Nathan Cable Summers, who is going to probably come back from the future to defend himself against a T-1000. Wait, am I getting confused here? I can't keep up with all this time travel stuff. Who is it coming after him again?
And Bishop's a time traveler too?
Yes, Bishop and Cable are both time travelers. Basically from different timelines, I think, too. Because at one point, I think Bishop wiped out Cable's timeline. And he was like, what do you think you're doing? That is just not right. Stop it, Cable. Stop it, Bishop. Whichever one got it. I can't remember.
I'll be right back. I got to go get more absolutely juice.
Absolutely. Oh, you want to look at that? Look at his background. That's nice.
And of course, at the end of that episode, we got what we talked about earlier. We got Storm stepping in front of the Executioner's anti-mutant laser to save Magneto. And honestly, couldn't one of the other X-Men do it? Storm is so awesome. Why did she have to lose her powers? Why not maybe Beast? I love Beast, but then he would have just been an extremely intelligent human. He could have helped them still with his brain. Instead, Storm just leaves. It was so disappointing.
I wonder, I mean, obviously they said that's permanent, but I wonder how permanent it actually is.
And yes, Attack on Show, there were different timelines in the future. The one up, and my 5 minutes is up. The timeline where Bishop was is more the Days of Future Past, and Cable kind of had his own sort of separate timeline. Yay, Jubilee. Now, she doesn't just do useless sparkles, Attack on Show. She can use them to have minor explosions and do things like that, but... And we saw her using them while she was dancing. So, you know, it was wonderful. But we
all know that's a very important part of the show is her dancing.
But I will never understand because she basically, Jubilee, took over for Kitty Pryde in the animated series. Because in the comics, Kitty Pryde was the young mutant who kind of came in there as young, and then everyone kind of took her under her wing. And for the animated series, they did Jubilee. My one gripe with the animated series is I think it would have been better having Kitty Pryde instead of Jubilee as the young mutant who was attacked by Sentinels that they saved in the first episode. You know, I know they probably wanted to change it up a little bit, but man, Kitty Pryde, whatever. She's Kate Pryde now, but she was Kitty back then. Shadowcat, Sprite, she's had 100 name changes, would have been a much better, team member for the animated series than Jubilee. Nothing against Jubilee.
It was also strange that in the Days of Future Past that they used Kitty Pryde in a role that it didn't really make sense for her, in my opinion.
Nope.
I don't remember who the mutant was originally supposed to be.
Oh man, who was it who helped send them back? I don't even remember now. I may have to read that comic. We may have to do a back issue breakdown on Days of Future Past.
That'd be a good idea.
I like that.
It wouldn't be bad. I mean, that is an incredible movie, an incredible storyline.
Mm-hmm. They definitely left a lot out of the movie, but it was still pretty good for what it was.
Well, and it was only 2 issues in the comics. I mean, it was very well written and well done, but there wasn't, too much in it. They could have really done a better job in the movie. They made, making Wolverine the center point, of course. You know how they always do. But
that's the moneymaker for the X-Men movies.
But I hope with the success of X-Men'97, which shockingly, I don't know if you guys saw this, has a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
I am not a bit surprised.
That's cool.
They were excellent starter episodes, and a lot of people have been looking forward to this. Now, I will grant that I'm sure a lot of it is, the member berries and nostalgia. Everybody's like, I remember X-Men. I remember the X-Men anime series in the 90s. The thing was, it was a good series then, and it's still a good series. This is one of those moments where I on one hand, I understand that from a marketing standpoint for, Disney and Marvel, this makes a lot of sense, for money and viewers. But on the other hand, it's also just a good series. So I'm not even mad at them for it.
Attack on Show asked a good question. Who rewatched it on Saturday morning?
Yeah, I even digitally input the Fox Kids logo, so...
But
technically, yeah.
I think it was Attack on Show. I'm pretty sure he had tweeted it or put it somewhere and said they should have released this on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Instead of releasing it on Wednesday at 3 a.m., they should have did it Saturday morning. I'm like, oh my God, they really missed out on something.
Anybody
here.
do Saturday morning cartoons anymore?
No, I doubt it. Because with streaming and everything else, everything kind of comes out at. It's not like when I was little and it's like I wake up at 6 in the morning, and I get my bowl of cereal and I turn on the cartoons and just veg
I would
out
do that
for
too.
4 hours straight.
Back
Yeah.
in our day, you had to wait. You had to be there when it was on.
Yeah.
I still have for when I used to watch the cartoons on, like, 'cause I'd flip back and forth depending on like what show I wanted to watch. But I still remember the ABC Saturday morning cartoons with the claymation character. After these messages, we'll be right back.
And yes, the end
Oh
credits
man.
are still the same. Attack on
Hmm.
Show. But this isn't just a nostalgia grab. I was worried that this might be
No,
it.
no, it's still good. That's what I'm saying. Like they could have just milked it and put out some schlop that had the image of the X-Men animated series. But no, they
Uh,
got as many of the original voice actors back as possible. They kept most of the same look. You can tell that they're doing it on computers now. It's not hand drawn, but it still has a lot of the same feel, the same vibe as the original series. And yeah, you're right. It does have the same end credits, and also the intro is almost identical. Obviously a few of the mutants have been moved around or swapped out, but like it's still spot on. The music is still the same.
And once again, Disney
the
Plus,
theme
you
song.
can just remove that skip intro button because I'm not
Mhm.
using it.
Yeah. I was gonna hit it, and I was like, no, these guys were talking about this. I want to hear it, so I won't turn it off again. It's like Peacemaker.
Very much so, yeah. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah.
Opening credits every time.
Yep.
Thicker line and shading, but looks great. Yeah, it really does.
Hmm.
I wonder if they couldn't use the same audio Attack on Show is because it was licensed through Fox or through some other studio that they're no longer working with. It's close enough, but it is different.
I didn't notice. I'll have to go back and watch
People were
again.
playing it back like next to each other on Twitter and on. So I saw some reels with it. It is a bit different, a little bit different, I should say, not a bit different, but I don't know how much it has to be different to if it was a copyright thing or if it was just them wanting to kind of update it a little bit. Because one of the things Kevin Feige said about this, if they're bringing it back, he wanted the intro to be the same, and he wanted the cast to return, which everyone did return. I thought Gambit didn't, but I guess he's doing a different voice, so it's very cool. And I don't know about you
Well,
guys watching this,
hmm
and I don't know if this is a general feeling from other people. It got me really excited about seeing the X-Men in the MCU. Like this is going to be a way for them to hopefully ramp the quality back up and get things going again because there's so many great stories they can tell with the X-Men. And they're not the Avengers, they're not the team that is beloved by everybody for saving the city and things like that. They're pretty much hated and feared, and it'll be nice
Now,
to see how they do that in live action.
hmm
so this is X-Men '97. Does that mean this is supposed to be happening in '97? And is there an event that's going to happen at the end of the series that shows, since this is part of the MCU, that shows why we haven't seen them in the MCU?
I don't know because I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I don't remember the original series ever specifying what year it took place.
We'd have to check,
I
but
I assumed they were calling it X-Men '97 just because the
It
original
was the
series
series,
ended in '96.
yeah.
right?
I mean, it could very well take place in the '90s, but I don't know. I'm not entirely positive. I don't know if they care to specify.
As long as they don't put like Nick Fury on an episode,
Well,
because
if they
then
did, see, the thing was, they did in some of the other Marvel animated series, they were all connected, and he was the comic accurate at the time, Nick Fury, with the white hair, and not looking like Sam Jackson.
Yeah, and Captain America was in an episode from
Yes, he
World War
was.
II. Spider-Man has crossover. Doug had talked about it earlier.
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers was in it when Gambit when Rogue took her powers.
Mm-hmm.
She made it. So You know, this is obviously I believe in a different universe. I don't think this is the MCU. I think this
I don't
is
think so either.
a different timeline.
Well, everything is MCU.
Correct. Okay, but it's not the sacred timeline. Is that a good verbiage? Okay, it's not the sacred timeline. It's something different because, and we'll probably see something. This may, I think it'd be great if we kind of get some X-Men '97 stuff in Secret Wars and part of Incursions and stuff.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be nice.
And you wonder why I hate multiverse. Make it make sense. Nah, we don't have to. It's a separate universe.
Well, they can still have it somewhat, hopefully make sense because we do see things crossing over. You know, because I do think the X-Men '97 universe is even different than the Fox live action X-Men universe because obviously we already got, Kelsey Grammer Beast in that other universe that Photon went to at the end of the Marvels.
I think he looked better there than he did in the old movies.
He looked great. Like,
yeah,
I watched it on my, big screen
40.
4K TV, and I was like getting up close. Like, God, they did a great job on the CGI on this. I don't know how long it took him to do it, but more of that, please.
You sound like Sting. They asked Sting what he wanted to describe his life in 5 words, and he says, "More of the same, please."
But
well,
yeah. Speaking of that, if they do end up, if they realize my dream and they do bring back the 90s Spider-Man series in Spider-Man 98 or something, I don't know. If they end up bringing that back, I swear they had better contact Aerosmith and have them redo the intro song for that as well.
Do you know how much I hate Aerosmith?
I don't care. The song rocked.
It could rock.
To have a Spider-Man
harder.
opening with like just blasting electric guitar and seeing him, fight Venom. Just oh god, that's another intro that I won't skip.
Okay, while you brought that name up, I mentioned earlier that I had a little tidbit about Seth Rogen.
Oh, okay.
Wait, that's not until our next segment. What are you talking
I'm going to do it now because it could be either one.
Okay.
Because the rumor going around today, rumor has it that Seth Rogen is writing an animated Venom movie for Sony.
Huh.
He likes those animated shows, doesn't he?
Seth Rogen?
Seth Rogen.
He's
the
done
guy
a few movies.
who voices the Ellen the Alien.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh. Okay.
Well, he's produced a
main
lot
producer
of.
behind The Boys.
Yep, he's a producer for The Boys. He's a producer on Invincible. He worked with Preacher. There was one other one I'm missing now. Oh, he did the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
He's definitely into this.
Okay.
He's definitely into the comics.
Yeah, and he did do great with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was really, I watched it with my son, and I was like, wow, now that is, they need more of this, and they're definitely doing
I did not know that. All right, cool.
So yeah, let's hope it's great. Let's hope they do a great job with this. But I heard that, and I was like, that is kind of a great choice. I mean, he obviously digs comics, and some say he worked on a Green Hornet thing. I have no idea what anyone's talking about. I've never seen it.
Now, if they could also have him voice Carnage.
What was that?
What's going on, Venom?
Hey. We just got to get Woody Harrelson as doing the voice of Carnage again.
Or not,
Oh,
Don't have to do that.
It's all right.
Whoever did the voice of Carnage in the Spider-Man the Animated Series was great, though.
Yes. Man, he hit that crazy perfect.
Yeah. I was a little creeped out. Wow, I was like looking behind me when he's talking, like,
Yeah.
someone coming to get me?
Was were the Guardians of the Galaxy on that Spider-Man show, or was that Spider-Man XD?
That was the Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, the one on Disney. Because yeah, Guardians rarely even showed up in the comics in the '90s. They really got popular because of one James Gunn.
Yes.
Yeah, they were just starting out back then. But I remember a scene where Groot helped Spider-Man with a fight, and at the end of it, he says like, "Thank you," and Groot's like, "I am Groot," and he goes, "He is Groot." That's all I remember.
I'm curious why that Spider-Man isn't getting more love in the Spider-Verse movies. That's a good question. Because that animated series is a lot like the X-Men one. It was absolutely beloved by almost everybody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely beloved.
And yeah, that is a great question, Tech on Show. I don't know. Because yeah, that was I liked Spider-Man before seeing that series. He was one of my favorite Marvel characters and one of the weirdly enough, I was introduced to Spider-Man from the newspaper comics, which those are just terrible.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I didn't know. When I was a kid, like I would read the newspaper at my grandma's house, and I remember going to the comics section and there was Spider-Man, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And I'm pointing it out to my parents, and my parents are like, "Yeah, like that's you can get that in more than 2 panels at a time."
Oh, any more than 2 panels is too much. It's just
I had no
filler after
idea.
that.
I was like 5 or 6 or whatever, and I ended up going to there was a comic book or sports memorabilia store or whatever next to the place where my mom would get her hair cut, and I went in there one day and I was just like flipping through and I found a Spider-Man comic, and like the doofus child I was, I grabbed it, ran out the door of the store, ran into the salon, and said, "Hey, Mom, can I get this?" And her response was, "Did you just take that out of that store without paying for it?" I was like, "Oops."
Yeah.
What comic?
What you talking about?
So my very first Spider-Man comic was almost stolen merchandise. But yeah, I loved Spider-Man, and then I loved the animated series. I really do hope that they see the potential that because a lot of those series were so good.
Well,
I give
did you see the '90s Iron Man series?
All right. What?
Did you see the '90s Iron Man series?
Yeah, that one was bad.
Oh, so
that one was terrible.
Hadn't.
Me too.
But the Fantastic Four series had a couple of good episodes.
Yeah, out of the 30 or so, yeah, they had 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I have that series on DVD. I bought it on DVD because I had never seen it. Because I was in the Marines in the early '90s, so we didn't get a lot of television shows, and I ended up buying it on DVD. And I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking this is like X-Men, and I'm like, I just wasted money.
You know what else? What other series was existed, wasn't great? The animated Incredible Hulk.
Oh, that's right. That was almost as bad as the Agents
They
of
had
Smash.
She-Hulk in there too, but
Yeah.
she wasn't comic book accurate.
They've never done a really good Hulk animated series that I can think of, because even Disney did one like Agents of Smash. It was
dumb.
so bad.
So bad.
But hey, we've talked enough about other anime. Should we rate these episodes, gentlemen?
I think we should.
Sure.
I will go first.
Okay.
He beat me to it this time.
I had to quick draw this time, so you didn't beat me to it. Because, like I said, coming into these episodes, I was a little worried this might be just a nostalgia grab, and it wasn't going to be the same quality as the original series, which was so good. And, I mean, my fears were alleviated almost instantly. I mean, coming in, seeing, Sunspot being captured by the Friends of Humanity, them having updated weapons, and just everything that went through that. It felt so much like this was just an absolute continuation. Like it is 1997 at this point. Did a great job.
Is that
what?
Does that count as an absolutely? You just said
No,
absolute.
No, it
Well, I
doesn't.
I
said
don't think so.
Yeah, now Dave said it.
sorry. Continue.
Yep, but and bringing it into the, Master Mold still being alive, and the Sierra and them having to take it over. Magneto at the end with the last will and testament, which was huge. I've never seen a will that long, but I guess he had a lot of assets and
Like
stuff.
an entire book.
Yeah, bound, and that was kind of
Right.
weird. To the whole thing with Magneto turning himself in, trying to turn over a new leaf, seeing the anti-mutant hysteria outside, the music, all of the characters, getting Cyclops right, not an overdependence on Wolverine. And once again, I'm not a Wolverine hater, don't get me wrong. I think he's great. But
We say bub.
the movies was so Wolverine centric, and the X-Men are so much more. We got so much. We got, Executioner coming in. We got Nathan Summers being born. And then at the end, to see whether it's been Madeline Pryor with them or the one at the door was, as an X-Men comic fan, was just like, yes, that was so great. And because of that, I am giving both these episodes a 9. Tremendous start to this show. Made me want to see more. That was very rarely do I say, I wish they dropped the entire thing at the same time. I wish we got all 10 episodes on Wednesday because I would have watched all 10. They just have done a great job with the, intertwining the stories through different things. All of the animation looks good. The music is spot on. And I am just absolutely enthralled. Cannot wait for the next
You're
episode.
what, enthralled? I'm trying not to take too big of a gulp. I only have that much left.
Hey, you're near the
And
bottom.
we got a whole other segment to do. All right, Doug,
Dave?
your turn.
It's you.
Oh, my
you
turn.
want me
All
to
right.
go? I can go. Don't matter.
So I'm kind of in a similar boat as Keith. I don't have any complaints. I I I rewatched it because both episodes because I'm trying to think like if there's anything worth nitpicking. I could not find a single thing. I I'm going to be honest. I didn't even notice because I didn't go back and listen to the original theme song. I didn't notice a change in the music at all. It it hit me like as soon as it started. I was just like, this
Bum,
this is perfect.
Bum, bum, bum.
Da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da-dum. It was so good. They had the characters down pat. They had some, weird, creepy moment thing with Rogue and Magneto, I guess. Maybe they'll expand on that. Didn't quite understand what was happening, but um, I mean, it was perfect. They played Magneto, they wrote him exactly the way that I would expect them to. He honors Charles', wishes because
Very cool.
at the end of the day, like we said, he's not really a bad guy. Um, yeah, I agree with Keith. They didn't overuse Wolverine. I was afraid that they would because that's the big moneymaker. But again, this is now Disney doing it, not Fox. If it was Fox Animation, they probably would have, you know, churned out like made him the leader of the X-Men or something like that. But no, I mean this would be perfect intro episodes, and they left it off on that just excellent cliffhanger. That way we can get our, previously on the X-Men. I'm waiting for that. If they don't do that,
If they don't do it, we march at dawn.
right. Oh man. But yeah, excellent excellent series so far. Perfect intro episodes. I kind of wish we had more because I probably would have binged it too. I am going to give it a 9.
9. Very generous, guys.
I-
Very generous.
I don't think it's
I don't
generous
have
at all.
anything to nitpick.
I
Well,
actually
I
thought it should be
can't.
higher because I'm like Doug.
Tried.
I thought it should be
Yeah.
higher because,
Yeah,
like Doug,
very
I saw
generous.
nothing wrong with it. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, if you didn't see anything wrong, why wasn't it a 10?
That's why I don't know. I feel like it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, they were 27 minutes. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any complaints either. Not being a viewer of the show before 96, this being my introduction to the show, I was I am just always amazed by the writing is so much different from live action. It's just so much more complete. They cover the angles. There's not any gaping loopholes in the storytelling. And I liked it a lot that even though Magneto is who he is, he still honors Xavier. I love that, and that's in line with his character. I liked everything about it, but since I'm such a sour grape, I'm only going to give it an 8 because I do
Did
think
you
that
have any issues with it that maybe we missed?
No, I didn't. I mean, no, I'm trying to think. I was going to have a complaint about Jubilee, but I don't really have a complaint about Jubilee. I was just going to say,
To me, that was again because I'm already familiar with the character. That was like right in line with exactly how I would expect her to act. Go to a nightclub and use her powers to shoot fireworks in the air while she's dancing, and nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, I was more upset with
yeah,
her being in the first episode of the original animated series than seeing her in this. I expected it because she was
Yeah.
part of the one.
yeah. So I'm going to go with the 8. I'm just meaning that like there is still. I want to see it improve. I mean, not that it's bad at all, but it's still
Hmm.
got it still can go up. So
Okay,
I'm gonna rate it as highly.
And Attack on
that's
Show
fair.
says 10, totally landed it. Cyclops given his due respect. Yes, I don't think I mentioned that. That was amazing. Said only
Hmm.
notes I miss original Gambit and Magneto voices. Wolverine and the X-Men. Now Wolverine and the X-Men was a good
I forgot about that
animated
series.
series. I enjoyed it. It did have Wolverine at the forefront, but it was still, well written and enjoyable. I actually
Hmm.
rewatched it when it came on Disney Plus. I was disappointed it only got. Did it have 2 seasons or one?
It had one season, I think. Wait, no, it had 2 seasons.
It did have two
We can look
seasons.
it
Yep.
up.
Yeah, it had
Yep.
2 seasons. Yeah, I remember I watched it. It came out after X-Men Evolution had aired, and I didn't realize at first that this was a wholly separate series. And so I expected it to be a sequel series to X-Men Evolution, only to start, fired up, and it's like it
One season.
it took place like the very first season of Wolverine and the X-Men. It started partway through. They were picking up on a comic book series where the X Mansion had been destroyed and Xavier is either missing or dead or whatever. And so I remember going into this series, I'm like, wait, what? What is happening? What is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one season but 26 episodes, kind of like Cowboy Bebop.
Oh yeah.
What was it? Only one season? Wow.
It
Okay.
says here.
I wonder
Yeah,
why I thought it was two then. Maybe it was
because
just the
it's
way that they
6
aired it.
episodes.
They
That's
they
a bunch
they
of
split
episodes.
it in 2 parts. Part
Mm.
one was the first 13, and then and that's a good Attack on Show. Here's a good what's next topic for this. Xavier's not
Nice
dead,
segue.
so is that going to play in at all this season?
Mm.
I don't know
No.
if it will. I agree with Dave. I think if anything, he may come back as like the post credit scene of the 10th episode. I think
Yeah,
this is
I
going to
agree with
focus on Magneto and them being in a school and what's going on, with Madeline Pryor and Jean Grey, Storm getting her powers back. I think they have enough sort of plot threads to really write through this, first season. They got enough things they can deal with as major plot points. They'll have some minor ones. But I think Xavier coming back is either going to be saved for season 2 or maybe even later. But he will come back, and yeah, Xavier is not dead.
Hmm.
A
He's
little off topic. Do you know what we forgot to mention when we were talking about that previous show, the Bad Batch? Is that they were saying that um, Crosshair's hand problem is mental. We forgot to mention that. We could have dove into that topic.
Yeah,
But we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about X-Men.
Thank you,
Sorry.
Dave.
Yeah, just wanted to get it out there.
it's a good catch. But yeah, there's can't wait till Wednesday. We're going to get another Bad Batch episode. We're going to get another X-Men episode, followed by another Invincible.
2 Bad Batch episodes.
Wait, is this week the 2? I think it's the week after is the 2 Bad Batch. Hold on.
I was all excited.
No, March 27th is 1. And then the week after we get 2 episodes.
Nice.
God, only 7 episodes left of the Bad Batch. That's kind of... I hope we get a new announcement.
The Amiga show.
Huh.
R.I.P.
And it's a game show.
Any other X-Men'97 thoughts?
Not yet. Just looking forward to the next episode so we can get some of those questions answered. Hey fellow nerds, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you check out our Twitch stream. We try to do these live Sunday or Monday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep an eye on our social media to find out when you can join in live and chat with us during these live streams. Also, as usual, don't forget to check out our other social media. Add us at Twitter, comment down below, and we'll see you next time right here on Not Your Status Quo.